human resource management also, when you have human resource management also, your orientation is always based on your local marketing. From there, we move to the next level. The next level, we call it export marketing. When we talk about export marketing, we mean limited international levels of international marketing commitment. For that matter, let's say we have produced something, and when we have produced something, I think it remains. Sometimes we are unable to sell in the local market. Because we are unable to sell in the local market, our intention is to export to the countries where it is required. Therefore, it involves direct or indirect export. And the other day I was talking about uh, different type of views. Therefore, one of the views we spoke the other day, it is about ethnocentric. So we adopt this ethnocentric approach when we have export marketing. From there, again we are moving. Our commitment is increasing and our commitment is becoming a little more substantial. In that case, we get into the level of international marketing. When you get into international marketing, the substantial international commitment will be there. Focus is on individual countries and individual regions. And therefore, sometimes our HR policy will be either polycentric or regiocentric. I think I was discussing all these things in our previous session. Again, I'll discuss some of these things when we talk about recruitment. That means international HRM recruitment. When we discuss about those functions, there again I may discuss these things. Then from there again we are moving, and our company becomes a global company, and we have extensive international commitment, and we want to focus on segments rather than on countries or on regions. Therefore, our orientation will go as geocentric orientation. So according to that, even we will design our HR policies. So these things are very important, how our view is undergoing change regarding HRM based on the marketing that is taking place. Now we need to discuss some of the things that are related to this one is basically why companies go globally. Why companies they go globally. There are two main reasons that we often advocate. Reason number one, we talk about there are fundamental reasons. Reason number two, there are collateral reasons. Because of these reasons, companies they grow globally, and when they go globally, what happens? Even our HRM policies have to undergo according to those things. That going globally, is it just exporting, or is it international, or is it, as we told you, a translational or a global company? Based on that, we will be designing our international HRM functions. Let us discuss some of these things. Some of these things may be of helpful to you. Some of you may know all these things, but still, just to recap, I'm trying to present these things before you. There are two reasons why I'm presenting. Number one, it is there in your second unit. And the second thing is a little bit of knowledge will be of helpful to us. With that intention, I am presenting these things. The fundamental reasons why companies go globally. The fundamental thing, my market, my local market might have been saturated. Too many competitors, and I have reached a saturation stage, and I need to search for places where this product is required. Therefore, I will start thinking about the countries where this product is sought after. With that intention, we will start exporting. That therefore, the first reason is market has become saturated. From there, we move. There's a threat of trade deficit. I want to fill this threat of trade deficit. Therefore, I will go for this international marketing. And when I go for international marketing, I need to think about IHRM. Then the next thing is the competition has increased. I think if you ask your parents, they tell you the type of product that we were consuming way back in 1980s and the type of products today we are witnessing in the market, there's a lot of change. There is a lot of competition. One thing I want to tell you, we have competition from foreign companies in our country. At the same time, what we need to understand, our people, they are no way less. They are competing in the international market. They are also giving a very tough competition in the international marketing arena. When you do that, immediately you have to change all the functions of your management. Then the next thing, for a long time you did not witness rise of new markets. For example, in our country itself, we didn't think about neo-rich people. We did not think about for a long time high net worth individuals. But in the same way, there are markets which are rising. And with the new markets they're emerging, maybe you start thinking not only in terms of domestic or local market, you start thinking about new markets also. Then people, they seek opportunities. We seek opportunities through foreign programs. When you design your products which are suitable to developing nations and developed nations, definitely we will get several opportunities. Therefore, you want to seize those opportunities because you want to seize those opportunities, you want to go globally. These things are called the fundamental reasons why we are talking about why companies go globally. The second thing that we have to discuss, what are the collateral reasons which prompt these companies to go globally? The first one is I have created a lot of capacity. I want to make use of this capacity. There are certain industries they have, unless they operate at a certain level, we use the word a break-even level. So if they fully concentrate only on domestic markets, sometimes it may happen they may not be in a position to reach that break-even level also. Therefore, to reach those levels, to operate at a profitable level, maybe you have to go globally. The second collateral reason that we talk about, there are ups and downs in the case of business. There are business downturns. Now, how do you face this kind of situation? How do we face recession? And these things are done by getting into a global business. From there, we move to the next aspect. It is called unless you operate at a certain level, I think you will not be in a position to save in terms of cost. Therefore, in order to have cost advantage, you need to get into this global business, or you go into this global business, global marketing, or global organization, and thus you want to save your cost. Then we talk about we want to take advantage of tax concessions that are given by government. Now, if you want to avail this advantageous tax concession, unless you export, you cannot do it. Therefore, you will go globally and you expand your business. Sometimes we want to test, sometimes we want to develop new products. Maybe there are some countries where these experiments may not be allowed. You may talk about ethical aspects. I do agree. Therefore, if I want to develop a new product, if I want to test new products, I will go globally. Then we talk about to have access to international resources. Why we want to go globally? See, when you go globally, you will have access to resources in terms of capital, in terms of human resources, technical, managerial, marketing, all these things, financial, all these resources, you'll have access only when you go globally. So when you want to have access to all these things, unless you go globally, it is not possible. Then I was talking to you about we have whenever we go globally, we have some orientation. I spoke about ethnocentric, polycentric, regiocentric, and geocentric. Let me tell you, these things are very important. There is every possibility for examiners to ask you these things in the examinations. Now let us discuss some of these things. We have management orientation, ethnocentric, polycentric, regiocentric, and geocentric. These are the four things. Let me tell you, these things you get even in marketing, you also get in international human resource management. For that matter, when you talk about cultures, when you talk about other things, these things are likely to be discussed. Now, let us start our discussion. What is this ethnocentric orientation? Ethnocentric orientation assumes home country is superior to the rest of the world. It is associated with the attitudes of, you have to forgive me, but because I'm using these words, it is associated with the attitudes of national arrogance and also supremacy. Management has to focus is to do in host countries what is done in home country. That means whatever things I do in my home country, same thing I will do even in a foreign country. Sometimes it is called international company. Products and process used at home are used abroad without adaptation. Likewise, the culture in the organization and while recruiting people also, whatever orientation I have in ethnocentric, same thing I'm going to adopt. Then the next thing we discuss about, it's called a polycentric. In the case of polycentric orientation, management operates under the assumption that every country is different and the company develops country specific strategies, sometimes called a multinational company. Company operates differently in each host country based on the situation, and this one is opposite of ethnocentrism. For example, we know in certain countries the height of people is different. Therefore, the products have to be designed in that way. For that matter, the example often that we give is about bicycles. Let's say in bicycle in some of the places, I think they'll be short because of the height of people, and bicycles in certain region, because I know some people, some region, the people are very tall. Therefore, I came to know some time back there was a company which used to measure the height, or the way we go to tailor to give measurement. Even companies, they used to measure their customers, and based on that they used to design bicycles. Now reason is, I think each region or each country is different, and we need to have different different strategies. Likewise, I can tell you HRM also, when you think, because the culture plays a vital role. Indian culture is total different. Again, when you go to West, the culture is different. Therefore, the HR policies that you are designing, they will differ. Then, regiocentric orientation. In this one, I can tell you, within our country, when you go to north, all of us are, I think I know the people for a long time they used to consider as Madrasis, because of so many reasons they used to think that our characteristics are same. Likewise, we have got European region. There are different kind of regions. So instead of each country, we are having the region as a unit, and our HR orientation will get into this regiocentric orientation. Management orientation is the gate to developing an integrated regional strategy. So these are regiocentric orientation. Let me tell you, this one is very, 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 very important for you. Sometimes they can ask you even in examination. I do not know whether I have to talk, I am allowed to talk like this in this online course, but because when something is important, I need to share it with you that it is very important. Then we talk about geocentric orientation. Under geocentric orientation, I consider the entire world is a potential market. The managerial goal is to develop integrated world market strategy. Global companies serve world markets from a single country and tend to retain association with the headquarters. Transnational companies serve global markets and acquire resources globally, blurring national identities. Now, these are the things we need to, because here what happens again when you are designing HR strategies, maybe it could be related to performance appraisal, maybe it could be related to recruitment, maybe it could relating to compensation management and all these things. You will have this geocentric orientation. For that purpose, these things will be useful. Try to keep in mind. And again, if I have to violate certain things, um, I'm sorry, maybe I'm violating. Maybe sometimes people they ask you in examinations these orientations. Now, what are the features of international business? This is what we are going to discuss. International business involves two countries. International business is possible only when there are transactions across different countries. The second thing that happens is Use of foreign exchange. See, we need to consider all these things. See, otherwise, there's every possibility for us to get into problem. I know about a person. He was working in one Indian organization. I know his classmate also. And this person who was working in Indian organization, from this organization, he moved to a global company, which is new to our country. And these people, what they have done, while quoting compensation, keeping that global economy, global thinking, instead of quoting that one in Indian rupees, they have quoted in maybe it is pounds or dollars they have quoted, and that person was getting a huge amount of money. And I asked that and asked his friend, how is it is getting so much money? This is what has happened. By mistake, the country, I think, with that orientation, they have fixed that one. Therefore, what you need to think, it has, it involves a minimum two countries. There is foreign exchange. So when you are fixing the compensation benefits and all these things, you have to consider these things. Then there are certain things we call legal obligation. Each country has its own laws regarding foreign trade, which have to be complied with. Further, there's more government intervention in the case of international transaction. Now, we have to apply, we have to consider these legal obligations, they're also applied to their employees. So that is the feature of this internet. See, when we are having these features, we need to apply to that one only. Then there's a high degree of risk. When we talk about risk, international business faces huge risk due to long distances, risk of fluctuations in currency, fear of obsolescence. Only that. Just think, you're sent to a country on an assignment and you could not adjust. The entire amount of training they have given, entire amount of efforts they have put in developing you and your family. And sometimes, if you take certain decisions, if the decisions are not in the interest of company, I think there'll be a huge loss. So there is greater degree, greater amount of risk involved. The next thing that we talk about, heavy documentation. There are a lot of formalities. Let us say you want to work in Dubai, you want to work in Saudi, you want to work USA. You can't just go. You can't. Sorry, I switch. It's better. Sorry. Yeah, heavy documentation. Lot of paperwork is involved. This happens even in international human resource management. Then there's a time consuming. From the time you place an indent, an order, from the time you place requirement for human resources, till this person is placed on the job, there is lot of time that is involved, both in marketing and also in human resource management. Then there's lack of personal contact. Sometimes it so happens you have to employ someone in that country. Maybe you have done interview online, maybe you have done everything online, but you don't have personal contact. But this lack of direct and personal contact, it becomes a problem in the sense, how do you motivate them, how while assessing performance appraisal, then while giving a salary hike, all these things they come into picture. Now the next thing is, because all these things they are there in the syllabus I am supposed to teach. Otherwise, normally I don't teach, but because they are there, I'm teaching. What are the different modes of entry? direct exporting, licensing and franchising, joint ventures, strategic acquisitions, foreign direct investment, and wholly owned subsidiary company. Now, which one you want to use? Which mode you want to use? It all depends on how much ownership you want to have, how much control you want to have. If you do not want to have any control, no ownership, just you'll go for licensing. Likewise, if you do not want to have ownership, then you want to have little control, you are going in for franchising. And less ownership, and you go in for more control, you go in for management contracts. If you want to have 50-50, you may go in for equity joint ventures. On the other hand, you want to have both the things more, then you will go for ownership and strategic alliances. So these are some of the things we need to understand. What are the HR challenges in the case of a multinational companies? Quickly, we will see. The major challenges that we come across, number one, diversity and inclusion. Quickly, we will see growth and development opportunities, room for global advancement, future job opportunities, networking opportunities, especially during COVID time. You may say, why are you talking about COVID? Every day something or other people they're talking. So we are mentally prepared to face any eventuality. Therefore, we discuss some of these things. Now, the first thing that we talk about is one. First challenge I told you about, you have to come compliance with labor laws. Every company finds a challenge in working with laws, regulations, and rules in another country. These vary drastically from one country to another. Companies often need the help of good advisor to unravel and comply with these different rules and policies. That's, I think I discussed. The second thing, I need to acquire talent. The basic question is, how many of us are really willing to move, relocate from one country to the other? And when you want to relocate, you want to see the country's GDP. You want to move to a developed country. So, how do you acquire talent? It is critical to acquire the right people at the right time, but finding the right talent for a company is sometimes very difficult. Even simply identifying and recruiting individuals can be a challenge in another country. Then, the next issue all of us face, it's about leadership. We need to develop agile leaders. Developing agile leaders. An organization needs flexible leaders who can adapt to the changes and challenges of operating in a global environment. And first of all, when we discuss about leadership, we talk about global mindset. First of all, I think some of you are aware about mindset, growth mindset, fixed mindset. Today, we are also talking about a global mindset. Unless you get into global mindset, these things are not possible. So you have to develop agile leaders. An organization needs flexible leaders who can adapt to the changes and challenges of operating in global environment. They must be able to bring local context and culture into their decisions and relationships within each country. Very simple. Your leadership should be agile. Our leadership should be global plus local. Then always when we are having this leadership, we should align with the home country. We should align with the country where our organization is located. Therefore, we need to balance local and home issues. Deciding which decisions must be made locally and which must be made at the headquarters is critical. And all of us know about, you people know about financial accounting and succession plan and all these things. They play a major role. Then you have to build the capacity. Employers must understand the products and services and how to produce or sell. They must understand how to communicate, integrate with others across borders in the cultural context. Therefore, learning and development, it becomes a major issue. Then efficient coordination collaboration. A global company must be connected and orchestrated in its work. Employees must be synchronized in their projects and efforts, and they must collaborate on a routine basis. Then retaining critical talent. I would like to emphasize on this one. When there is mass unemployment, it might be very easy for you to get candidates into your organization. When there are opportunities, when people are poaching, when they are shifting, how do you retain critical talent in your organization? It is a big issue. Then sharing knowledge across borders. Then again, another important thing is knowledge management. How do you manage knowledge that is there among people? Once they leave, how do you get back? How do you put them in international teams? All these are then databases. Oh, a lot of things are involved. Operating efficiently, the products and services delivered must be produced at a low cost to the organization. Otherwise, competition will have an advantage. The very fact we are recruiting people from different parts of the country is we want to operate at a low cost level. Then the next thing is we want to improve productivity. We want to lower production cost. All these are the issues in the case of MNCs. Now, what are the human capital strategies that we can adopt? Sometimes they can ask a question, what are the problems that are faced by MNCs or transnational corporation? What are the strategies that you envisage or when you suggest to cope these issues? So the first thing that you need to talk about is decide the policy and philosophy for outsourcing. Keep in mind those four orientation. What is your policy? What is your orientation about people? I spoke about four type of orientation. Now, what do you think? To what kind of orientation you are subscribing? Based on that, you design your policies. Then focus on employment and job creation. You know very well there is a lot of criticism about these transnational companies and multinational organizations. They tell these companies they come and they exploit us. But here we're asking whether these foreign companies, as a good corporate citizen, are they going to create employment even to local people, or are they going to steal the employment that is there in our country? So the next strategy is how to focus on employment and job creation. And third thing that we talk about is pursue innovation. Innovation, the best way to make sure that the new jobs can be created, new products and services can be developed. Innovation helps to deliver a low price with top quality so that a competitive edge can be gained. You want to gain competitive advantage through this innovation. Innovation, to have innovation in the organization, you need to have a good HR policy. Then address inequalities at the firm level. See, this can be addressed in two ways. First, make sure that the firm moves beyond the minimum wage. You know, always people they have. I know about one college that was having international flavor somewhere. I can tell you, 80s. There was one professor who always used to complain. People who are of the same level, they are paid more, whereas he was paid less because he happens to be Indian, and he found lot of discrimination. He found lot of inequalities, and sometimes this will bring down the morale of people. Therefore, you have to address inequality at the firm level. Then the next strategy is communication. You should have a proper communication strategy, intercultural communication, and when the organization is drastically impacted by events outside the home country, you know, everything that happens outside that will have impact in our country, and some other foreign countries, whatever happens here, that will have impact in their countries. At the time, these organizations, they have to address those issues. They need to have public relations officers. They need to have communication strategy. They need to address all these people. Now, these are the things so far as MNCs, the problems in HR they face. Now, in a very, very brief manner, we will discuss functions of IHRM. The functions of IHRM, the first thing we talk about recruitment and onboarding. I know about several people, they are recruited, but onboarding is not done. That is a problem. Then the second thing is, how do you select people? What is the basis for you to select people? Then we talk about how do you decide international compensation? What is the basis for us to decide international compensation? In what terms we are deciding? This one also we need to discuss. Then we need to discuss about training and development. Wait, when you're sending your people from your country to their country, we need to develop them. We need to develop them, not only the person who is going, and we have to train people, their entire family. Sometimes you have to train because they should not face any, I can tell you, uh, I use the word reality shock syndrome. They should not get into that. So a training is required. Then we talk about compliance. See, it's not just sending people. You should be aware what are the rules and regulations that you need to follow. What is the paperwork? What are the procedures that you need to follow? If you don't com- comply with all these things, there's every possibility for you to get into problem. Then we talk about when people they come back from that country to our country. Oh, I know about many people. They stayed in some of the foreign countries for a long time, and when they come back, they face lot of problems. How do you see that they are settled here properly? How do you make use of their experience? So there are several issues regarding repatriation. These things are discussed in international human resource management, and each one becomes a very important aspect, and we'll be discussing these things in the coming sessions. Okay. um Stop here, please don't go away. Still we have 15 minutes. Now we will discuss about um IHRM and culture. I think these things are mentioned in Unit 3, there Unit 3 in Block 1. Therefore, I have to touch upon these things quickly. We will see. We will see. Um, they ask you, how culture impacts. Or they ask you something about Hofstede model. And there are other models, how you can make use of them in order to train people, and also how you can make use of these models in order to um, educate employees when they are going abroad. So these things we shall discuss. Now, the first thing is culture. Culture is defined as that complex whole which includes knowledge, belief, art, morals, law, custom, and other capabilities and habits acquired by a human being as a member of society. Now, this may look very simple, but this encompasses so many things. Many people they could not adjust into a foreign country because of this cultural aspect. I'll tell you, maybe I'm talking about 1992. At the time, one of my friends was telling me, his name is Professor Jose. He was working in American University and he was teaching French language and everything was good. And he came back, he started working in India and in our university on part-time basis. And I asked him, when you are having such a comfortable job in that place, why did you leave that place and came back to India? He said only one thing, adjustment of culture. See, your children might adjust, but will you be in a position to adjust to the culture? Will you be in a position to adjust to those culture? Then I know one more person. He went to USA, he stayed there for about 15 to 20 years and he came back. He's my relative. And I asked him, why did you come back? I made good amount of money to buy seed for my children in NRA quota. I did not want to stay there because that culture is somewhat different. Maybe for us, we find it difficult to adjust. I'm not saying every person is like that, but the thing is, this culture plays a major role. When I talk about culture, I'm talking about our knowledge, our belief system. We have certain belief system. Culture involves art, morals, laws, custom. All these things are there. And we need to understand that culture is learned, shared, it passed from generation to generation. It's adaptive and it describes so many things. Some of you might have heard this word, some scars. Some scars. This is the word I think people they are using. Now, people say in our country we have some first people they have to go. See, you may agree, you may not agree. That's a different thing. You have to go through this some scars, these cultures, and all these things from the time they get, from the time they're married until they leave. Oh, lot of some scars are there, and they are passed from generation to generation. Now, in some places you question them, some places you can't question them. Some places you accept, some places you don't accept. But you need to understand, I'm not asking you to believe every culture, but there is a need for people to respect other culture. Yet otherwise, there's a possibility for you to get into a problem. Cultural factors that influence the cultural formation are our knowledge, our belief today, everywhere we are talking about Indian knowledge system, Indian belief systems, values, attitudes. Don't think these things are spoken only in our country, different places, people they are speaking. And likewise, when you go to other countries, even they will have their knowledge system, their beliefs, their values, and their attitudes. All these factors, in turn, they affect our behavior. When I go to that country, they affect my behavior. So when they affect my behavior, or I'll put it like this: when my behavior, when it affects them, see. there is a possibility for me, not only for me, even for my organization to get into a big problem. So people behave, interact, and try to achieve their goals based on their cultural configuration. They behave differently at workplace due to the influence of their cultural background. Therefore, there's a need for us to understand these cultures. Now, how are we going to manage this cultural diversity? You are going to, maybe you got a posting in somewhere in Oman, maybe you got posting in Saudi Arabia, and maybe you got posting in Qatar, or you got posting in some of the Scandinavian countries, or Britain, or USA, or Australia. See, I'm mentioning all names of all these countries, but you need to understand the culture, it undergoes different, the culture is different. Therefore, how are you going to manage this cultural diversity? There are three type of strategies that normally we advocate to manage this cultural diversity. One happens to be individual strategies, the second happens to be group strategies, and third one is called organizational strategies. They may ask you this one in the examination. Now, what are the individual strategies that you can adopt in order to face this multicultural diversity? Individual strategies are formulated by the individuals based on the circumstances, my ego state, my cultural upbringing at the workplace to handle diverse cultural stand. And some of these things are number one, understanding upbringing of not only mine, but I have to understand upbringing of other people also. I have to predict their behavior. I have to prevent possible conflict while dealing with others. I can tell you, I was teaching students from different countries. Oh, we had to adapt different kind of strategies while teaching them. And I'm not saying I have gone to foreign country, but within India, within Usmania University, sometimes we used to have classes exclusively, not exclusively, it is a combined class, Indians and foreign students, they used to sit. And sometimes we had researchers and all these people, and we should know how to manage them. Then believe that all cultures are good to avoid prejudices over other cultures. Now, you have to believe, basically believe every culture is good. But you may not subscribe to some of those things. Then perceive from others' perspective, leading to collaboration. Can we have a collaborative culture? Then you can also think about you have to adapt oneself to the no winning approach or other cultures, and I need to adjust to the situation. Then I need to have a clear communication. That is one of the essential aspects in order to avoid conflict that arises due to cultural diversity. Then we will talk about group strategies. And see, individually sometimes it might be different, but when you are in a group, then our behavior undergoes change. Therefore, sometimes our strategy could be a group strategies also. Employees in one group belonging to one culture can identify the culture differences of other groups also. The strategies adopted by these groups include we will share the knowledge, information, knowledge shared by the expatriate of the same nationality with respect to the cultures of host country as well as other national expatriates, then advising and cautioning long standing, suppose I'm going to Dubai or Saudi to work there. So what I do, I go to a person who worked in that country and I seek their advice. And they tell you behave like this and don't behave like this. All these things they tell. Then cultural exchange to socialize and practices organized by expatriates to exchange opinions and perspectives of the culture with an open mind and build cultural climate. Then the third thing, after this I'll stop, organizational strategies. They include how do you recruit people? What is your orientation? Ethnocentric, polycentric, regiocentric, geocentric. Keep in mind. That is one of the strategies. Then how do you design policies and practices regarding allotment, regarding payment of salary, then regarding suitability of employees, regarding cultural training? You have to be very clear. Then cultural training, what are the aspects that you are training, giving training so for cultural training? Then you talk about how do you break glass ceiling syndrome. I'll discuss this one. How do you have the socialization programs in order to encourage cultural understanding and exchange? Then we talk about communication and communication policy in order to encourage proper information. And the last thing is, especially benefit women, old age people, physically challenged people to encourage cultural values and norms in many aspects. Okay, here I'll stop. I think it's 2:30. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. It's 3:31. We started at 2:30. Maybe a few minutes we start on that side. I think, shall I take leave? Can somebody respond? Thank you.